Perfect. So let's get a little bit of background about you. Tell us like where you're born, where you live now, kind of your past jobs, college, school, just kind of like, your life leading up to where you are now.
Yeah, so I grew up in Massachusetts. My parents were both teachers, so I grew up with the mentality that I was going to go to school, get a real job, work for 40 years, and retire. So my dad was the high school teacher of the town next to me, and so got to go to school there. They had a better school system, and when I got there, I realized, wow, everyone's parents, so there's doctors, lawyers, dentists, business owners, and I wasn't poor, but I was middle class. My parents were teachers, and they had everything. So it was never more evident during my summers when I turned 15, 16, 17, and I was inside working 40-hour week, 50-hour week jobs, and all my friends were outside playing, enjoying the summer. So I learned a ton about sales, about customer service, about managing people, but I also learned that I did not want to work for other people. And when I got to college, I kind of looked at it as a ticking clock. I had 4 years to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and to start my own business, or I was going to get thrown into the real world working for someone else, and that was going to be it. So I started buying and selling people's textbooks to make some side money. I created a little referral program. Before I knew it, I had lines out the door of people trying to sell me their books, to the point where I actually got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off. So that was my first glimpse into being an entrepreneur, and that led me to trying other things. I knew I couldn't sell books much longer, so I had sold a little bit on Amazon, and this was 2008, and I started experimenting with cool products, with outdoor sporting equipment and DVDs, video game stuff that a typical college guy is into, and I just failed over and over. For whatever reason, I could only get these books to sell, and it wasn't until I branched out of my comfort zone, really throwing everything against the wall, that I found the baby product industry. So if you can imagine me as a 20-year-old single college guy selling baby products on Amazon, that was me. And that business took off. It was drop shipping years before I even knew it was called drop shipping. That word didn't exist. And I sold millions of dollars of baby products on Amazon. And that was my first job besides these internships. So I always tell people I've never really had a real job. When I graduated, I turned down a bunch of job offers to run my Amazon business. So that's kind of how I got started, and went from a broke college kid to starting my first business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that the backstory is like some of my favorite stuff. Like at some point, I'll go into like the stuff that I did when I was in college. I started my my journey in college being an entrepreneur as well. It just took me a lot longer to be successful, but I always see it as a blessing because it took me. I put so much stuff in my back pocket on like, different ways of doing things that now I have so many different skill sets. So I love hearing that backstory.
Yeah, and just lots of lessons. I mean, you fail so much when you're a young entrepreneur, but I'm so happy I learned those lessons when I was like 20 to 24 rather than learning them now, where people actually depend on you and you have responsibilities,